Hello, Tyler here with SSA Architecture, small studio associates, licensed architects in Las Vegas, Nevada, and the surrounding area, including California and Arizona. When owning property, you are subject to inspections and other similar checks from the governing building department. When this happens, it is possible for the inspector to find different things within the property that do not meet code or appear to have been constructed or demolished without permits. When this occurs, it is likely that the inspector will impart notices of violations, otherwise known as NOVs, onto the property. When this occurs, the NOVs will act as a hold that will block movement in terms of permitting construction changes. In many situations, the NOVs will also block operations at the corresponding site. Once NOVs are received, it is advised that the building owners seek the help of a professional architect to get the NOV solved as soon as possible. If an owner's space is rendered to an inoperable state by NOVs, it is likely that the owner will lose money over the time the space is unusable. When not operating, an owner will lose out on revenue each day while also losing out on operating costs. This situation is detrimental to not only the business side of things, but also to the customer retention, if that applies to the business in question. This hopefully shows the importance of clearing NOVs. When looking to clear NOVs, the process can be different for each case. If the NOVs are simple, changes and installs that don't require a construction permit, then it is advised that the owner make said changes and schedule an inspection as soon as possible. If the NOVs are more stringent, then it will be necessary to move through a submission process. Generally speaking, the first step in that process will be to determine what actions need to be taken for each violation. This typically involves hiring an architect and responding to the NOVs individually. Responding usually encompasses submitting a set of plans that address each violation. This sometimes requires outside consulting help that an architect cannot provide. The most common violations requiring additional consulting are violations concerning areas of the building that are deemed dangerous structurally. In this case, it will be necessary to hire a structural engineer to assess the area of the building that requires structural approval. If the area has the structural engineer's approval, the building department will simply require that a letter be submitted alongside the plan submittal stating that the building is structurally sound. If the building does need additional structural work in order to be stable, then the structural engineer shall provide drawings and details depicting the course of actions necessary to solve the issues. Once provided, the sheets will be added to the plan set and cross-referenced as necessary. The full plans can then be submitted to the building department as a response to the NOVs. While this example only covers structural engineering, there are other professional consultants that may be necessary to respond adequately to NOVs, and their additional plan pages will need to be included in the submission also. At SSA, the response is not only done by submitting the plans, but also with the response to NOV sheet added onto the submission. On the response sheet, each violation is rewritten, and a short response to each one is written along with it. Included in this response is the general description of how the violation will be solved, along with the location in which the violation and corresponding correction occur in the plan set. Once submitted, we are not necessarily in the clear. The building department then has to read through the corrections and accept or deny them. If any are denied, it is likely because the building department plan reviewer did not like the correction being taken on a violation. Denied violation corrections will have to have a new correction resubmitted for review. At SSA, it will be handled the same way any other resubmission process is handled. A response form will be filled out providing a new solution to any corrections that have been denied. The plans will also be updated accordingly during the resubmission process. From here, the process becomes a game of compromises, as the architect tries to find a middle ground with the building department on solutions on how to solve violations. An example of this would be if the client is on a budget and would like to get the violations corrected for as little as possible. In this situation, the architect may begin by submitting with a minimum requirement correction. For example, a wall is called out as being built using standard building materials. The building department may respond with a solution requiring the maximum possible solution that requires much larger studs or higher quality materials that cost much more. The architect could then submit a response with a solution somewhere in between, as a compromise. At this point, the building department may yield and allow for a lesser construction solution, but it really just depends on the situation. If the building department feels really strongly about the matter, they may require their provided maximum solution. The compromises may not always be between two similar solutions also. Sometimes the compromise pertains to a different aspect of the construction process. A solution for some added windows may be allowed as long as a compromise is made concerning the doors or another aspect of construction. This process can take some time depending on the amount of NOVs the building department's view on the dangerousness of the violations, or even the mood of the plan reviewer and inspector. Once all corrections and compromises have been approved and permitted, it will become necessary for the building space to be brought up to the state depicted on the plans. From there, an inspection will have to be done, and then the space should be able to return to normal operation and use. Hopefully this video helped to show some of the process necessary to solving the issue of NOVs for a given operating building or business. If you have questions or are looking for an architect to help solve your NOV issues, feel free to call us at 702-873-1718 and schedule a free consultation. Otherwise, you can check out our website's Frequently Asked Questions page over at smallstudioassociates.com. As always, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.